All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, and anyone who's late will have to catch up with us. So thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to give a short presentation talking about DevJam, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. What we're going to ask is that you do your Q&A, answer it via the chat, and then we'll answer it, and we can just manage it a lot better than actually having people go. This is actually not a webinar, it's actually a conference. So all of you could talk at the same time, which would be a little bit crazy. So with that said, I'm gonna leave the video on. The first couple slides with me, and Jonathan's gonna help me out, and then I'll shut it off and then turn it back on when we do Q&A. So welcome to the DevJam Office Hours #1. My name is Roger Kibbe. I think I've met several of you or talked to several of you. I'm a senior technical evangelist for Viv Labs, the division of Samsung that's behind Bixby, and that's my Twitter handle there. So a little introduction about myself. Like I said, senior developer evangelist. Well, guess what? About a year ago, I had entered a similar contest, but before Bixby had even launched, and I was actually the winner of that contest. So when I get to my slide talking about some ideas and thoughts around what you can build, be happy to, I'll talk a little bit about that. I will tell you that what I built is something that was originally called What Bin, now called Green Planet. And it's a thing that helps you recycle or compost. And really you're sitting there wondering, what bin does this go into? You ask Bixby and it answers for you. I'm a father of 2 daughters and two teenage daughters, so that's why I have gray hair. And I'm a UC Berkeley graduate, so I'll have to say go Bears. I'm going to primarily host today, but I have a colleague who's going to jump in and help and is a technical guru. So Jonathan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jonathan Pan. I'm also a developer evangelist for Bixby, aka Viv Labs, which is, as Roger mentioned, part of Samsung. And similar to Roger, I'm actually here because I won a hackathon while I was working for Samsung in 2000, earlier this year. And I do have 4 too many cats. That's, a lot of cats. So yeah, that's me.
All right, awesome. I'm going to shut the video off for a little bit while I go through my presentation, and I'll shut it back on when we start the Q&A. All right. All right. So some DevJam, hang on, let me get some things out of the way here. So just some basics, and you may have additional questions, and if as I'm talking, you can start filling up the chat with questions if you like. But you may have seen this. There's 125 grand total prizes. There's one $10,000 grand prize. There's 2 $5,000 finalist prizes, and then 5 runner-ups prizes. And then if you've developed for Bixby or done anything yet, you've seen that we have the store divided into 20 different sections. And so we're going to look at capsules submitted in each of those sections, and the best submitted for each of those sections will win 1K. So there's 20K worth of prizes there. And then additionally, just for participating, and when I mean participating, this is actually getting your capsule submitted and approved. The first 250 people to do that get a $300 Samsung store credit. All right, so now it's really important. I said approved. So you can submit it, but it must be approved between October 18th and December 9th. So really where this really becomes important is probably early December. I would strongly suggest that you submit your capsule probably at least a week ahead of the December 9th deadline, all right? In addition, if you submit it early, we are in a couple weeks gonna start having these $500 raffles. So it's gonna be everybody who submitted that week is open and eligible for that raffle. So there's a lot of reasons to submit early and not wait till the very end, which often happens in too many contests like this. Okay, so some really brief things about setting up your development environment. What you want to do is go to bixbydevelopers.com. Let me do that right now. So bixbydevelopers.com. this is your homepage for everything Bixby. In order to do this, I'm already signed in, but you'll need to click here, over here, and you'll see you'll create a Samsung developer account. And then the first thing you'll do is download the Developer Studio. Windows, Mac, and x86 Linux is supported. And then you'll go through this, and really this is all of our documentation, links to some videos, links to sample code are here. So like I said, this is definitely your Bixby homepage. In the Getting Started session, this will really be where you can get started if you haven't done anything with Bixby. It'll show you how to download the ID and then build this simple dice capsule, which is the very first thing you do. But if you go over here, there's a lot of guides, design guides, developer guides. There's just a ton of documentation here. So this is your homepage for Bixby. All right. So some other resources. So github.com/Bixby developers. So that I'll say that's our second homepage, our code homepage. And this is where we have a bunch of sample code. Let me go over there right now. So this is our GitHub presence. And we have probably 25 or 30 repos in here. I want to point out a couple that I think might be really useful, particularly if both of you're learning Bixby or you've already learned Bixby, but you're trying to do some more complicated thing. So first thing I mentioned is this DICE. It's a pin repository. That's really the repo that I mentioned is in the docs and the code that you'll use to learn Bixby. But a couple interesting ones are fact and sample. And these are really templates to get you started. Really common patterns in voice is to create a fact based capsule or a quiz based capsule. By the way, if you're new to Bixby and when I say the word capsule, what I mean is voice application. You came from Alexa, you call them skills. If you came from Google Assistant, you called them action. And then the one that I'd point out, and I like to go here because it's my favorite, is the capsule samples collection. What this is a bunch of really simple capsules that essentially do one thing. So I'll tell you how I use it, and I think this is applicable to many. You're reading the docs, you're trying to understand, wow, I get it, but I really want to see some code that shows me how to do this. Well, I'd suggest go to this capsule sample collection and see if we have a sample capsule that shows you how to do exactly that. And it's a really good starting point, a really great way to learn Bixby. Like I said, I still use it to refresh my memory or if we introduce something new to understand. There's a lot in here, a couple that might be super useful. If you want to do something with audio player, so it shows you how to use audio, and that's for long form streaming audio. There's a couple on UI, Bixby views here, HTTP API calls. So an awful lot of capsules will use some remote API call. And so this gives you sample code to show you how to do that. Input forms, there's things on location, preference learning is personalization. Just really a super valuable resource for learning Bixby. And like I said, my absolute favorite thing that we're doing on GitHub is this, because I think it's a great way to learn. All right, so we also have a YouTube presence. I like to call it Bixby Tube is my joke. And that is at that bit.ly.bixbytube address. And so really, if we go over there, let's see, let me go to YouTube. Didn't preload this, so let me go. Your channel. Oh, yes, not my channel. Okay, hang on. So you can see this is real because I'm actually having to switch some things around. All right, now let me go to your channel. All right, so this is our Bixby developer presence on YouTube. There's a lot of good information here. So Jonathan, my colleague who I introduced earlier, has written a bunch of, like 8 to 20-minute tutorials on how to get started with Bixby. These are kind of deep and show you actually how to do development and coding. He's got 4 here. The approval process. So this is something where people who are new to Bixby sometimes find it challenging, and they submit a capsule for approval and to go in the marketplace. And sometimes it gets rejected a couple times. So we created a bunch of tutorial videos on how to think about really how to submit a capsule, both kind of the mechanics of exactly what you need to do to make sure it passes, but also some tips and tricks to actually make a really great capsule experience. You want to meet us in a little more goofy. This is some of us in our evangelist team talking about our Bixby, our top 5 Bixby features. It's pretty lighthearted. It's got some errors in the video. It's got us being a little goofy, but just a way to introduce ourselves to the world. And then I created this Bixby starter kit, really, really good, especially Bixby 101. If you're getting introduced to Bixby, just want to understand high level the concepts behind Bixby. And then finally, there's a kind of hands-on coding tutorial with Adam Shire. He was our co-founder and a bit of a legend and voice. Adam first founded Siri, sold Siri to Apple, left Apple, founded Viv Labs, and now has sold Viv Labs to Samsung. So really well known in voice. So definitely a great place to get video tutorials. So some community support resources. So first of all, Stack Overflow. We definitely try to encourage and push everyone to ask their technology questions on Stack Overflow. And definitely tag it with Bixby. And if you tag it with DevJam 2019, that'll let us know it's for the contest and that to give it some higher priority. But don't be offended, please, if you ask a technical question, for instance, in Slack or somewhere else, when we push you to Stack Overflow. Because the real reason we do that is your question is probably 10 other people's question. And so we like to push people over there for technology questions. We have a Slack channel, bixbydevs.slack.com. This is run by the community, not by Samsung or Viv Labs. But graciously, they're going to host, there's a channel in there, Bixby Dev 2019. I'll show it to you in a second. If you haven't signed up right now yet, there's a bit.ly link here. And you can go bit.ly/Bixby Dev Slack. Maybe I'll throw all of these in the during Q&A in the chat, so you have these links. Actually, ahead of time, coming to think about, I did put that Slack link in there, so go sign up there. I'm going to share this deck and everything on there, and that's going to be your place to ask questions about the contest. Like I said, if you ask technology questions, we're going to push you over to Stack Overflow to ask your questions. If you find bugs with Bixby, or you find features, you're like, wow, I can build this amazing experience, but I just need this feature, then go to bixbydevelopers.com, and there's a place where you can actually submit a feature request or a bug. You know, feature requests take a little bit of time to develop, so I wouldn't wait for them to be developed, but we would really, really love to understand features that you'd like to see in Bixby that are not currently available. Super helpful to us, and obviously super helpful for you. And then we will be holding these office hours weekly. So you got to go look in that Slack for the information on the next one. And I think we'll also be emailing some information, but I encourage you to stick on Slack. That's going to be the most up-to-date source of information. Just a few frequently asked questions have already come up. Are capsule updates eligible? In other words, if you created a capsule a month ago and you update it during this period of eligibility, is that eligible for the contest? It is not. So it needs to be brand new capsules that you create. Here's a really good, can I use those templates on GitHub? Can I use the fact or quiz template? I'm going to say absolutely you can use the template code because it's meant to be a starting point to build a Bixby capsule. But what you really need to focus on is unique content. If you just submit something that really has the sample content we have in there, it's not even gonna get approved and it won't be eligible for the contest. So if you use one of those templates, spend a lot of time thinking about your content. As a matter of fact, my advice to every voice developer would be sweat the content, right? Get the functionality working, but then really think about the content and think about what's being said. Bixby's multimodal, so think about the UI and the graphics and how that's all gonna work out there. So how do I get a capsule idea? What's a winning idea? Well, I guess I can answer what's a winning idea since I won this last year, have some insight, and I've been involved in voice for a couple of years and done development on all the platforms and done a lot of work there. You know, the way I like to think about it is, where does a voice interface work well? Where is it the best modality? So I look at what's happened in the voice world and I see some really cool stuff and I'm like, wow, that's a natural for voice. It's a much better experience than I would find in a browser or a mobile app, or there's much less friction using it. That's a good voice application. On the other hand, to be honest, I see things ported over to voice and I'm like, okay, it works with voice, but frankly, the app or the website are a better way to do it. And so what I really want you to think about is your user creativity is something where, hey, voice first, going and asking and getting an immediate response is a better opportunity than having to go and launch an app and learn how that app works, or go jump on Google, search for something, or go find a website and do that. So just a way to kind of frame your thinking is make it something where voice is the best way to interact with it. You know, make it fun, unique, interesting. Super important, infuse your capsule with personality. You know, if you're building a business-based capsule, this may be less important, but particularly with voice and conversational interfaces, people want to see some personality and they want to see some variance. And if you come from the web or mobile world, that like variance is like, no way. Like I want the exact same experience for everybody who uses my web experience or my mobile experience. Really, really different. With voice, you want it to have some personality. Vary the phrasing, vary what Bixby says. We have some capability for you to put random phrases and add some randomness in there. That's how we all talk to each other. If you ask me the same question twice, I'm not going to answer it the same way twice, partially because I don't even remember what my answer the first time. But seriously, personality. Use that Slack channel for contest questions. Use Stack Overflow for technology questions. So thank you. I'm gonna turn on the video and open it up for Q&A. So let me go do that. Let me get out of this share. And let me turn on video here. And Jonathan's got his video on. And so wanted to see, let me take a look at these. What is the average time from submit to approving a capsule? It should be, I'm gonna say 2 to 3 days. Right now, it's tending more to 6, 7 because we had this huge deluge of capsules that came in right after we announced the contest. But I will tell you, there's a couple things you can do to make it faster. So one, definitely follow that checklist of everything we're telling you to do so you don't get rejected. Two, if, for instance, you have a login, you got to give a sample username and password. If you think there's anything the capsule reviewer needs to know to make it easy for them to understand your capsule, then put that in those notes that you can on submission, right? Help the capsule reviewer do their job. This is super, super important if, for instance, you get a capsule rejected and you resubmit, or you modify the capsule and change something. Tell them what you changed, and that will really help accelerate the process. And just thanks about clarifying templates. Yeah, like I said, absolutely legit. Sweat the content if you're going to use those templates. So what other questions can I ask? Can I answer? You guys can go, please chat. You're not chatting enough.
I see Mike's question on besides the mobile devices, what other device and marketplace available on? Right now, it's just available on mobile devices.
Yeah, I'd say stay tuned. And that, I would say that Bixby development is just enabled on mobile devices, but it's no secret that we have some grand plans to enable Bixby on additional devices. I will say we're going to judge this contest on the basis of development for mobile devices and things that you can actually submit to the marketplace. Great question. Do we need to support audio-only devices for the contest? No, you do not. I will tell you that if you support, so little bit of how Bixby works in the phone. There's two ways to use it on the phone. One is to say, hi, Bixby. So start it via voice. Oops, my devices are gonna go off when I say that. And then the other way is to actually use the Bixby button. Hang on, let me show my Bixby device, hang on. This is always a problem with voice, right? You use the wake word and everything wakes up. So back to that. When you say, hi, Bixby, we are in what we call hands-free mode, which means the user could be in a situation where, for instance, they're in a car and they can't touch the screen, or they can't even see their phone and they're talking to it. So if you look in the docs, you'll understand you can say, oh, it's in hands-free mode, so I should provide a voice-only interface. This is absolutely not required, but I'll tell you your capsule is better if it provides both that hands-free voice-only interface and a full GUI UI as well. Okay. Oh, someone found an error. You got so we'll have to go fix that. But yeah, it is definitely the first 250 people will get $300 in Samsung Store credit, US Samsung Store credit, and that is the first 250 people whose capsules are approved. I know there's a marketplace for Bixby capsules. Is there a plan to have any place for the sharing of Bixby routines? I think that's a super cool idea. I'll pass it on. If you've done, oh, I know who you are is asking this. Yeah, submit that if you haven't already as a feature request. I think that'd be a cool way to do that. Bixby routines are a way that you can, for those of you who haven't used it on the phone, you can string together several Bixby commands and have them all work together. So you can have something like a morning routine that does a bunch of things for you.
Also, to answer Fred's question, how many capsules can I submit in the competition? You can submit up to 4 to win $300 per capsule. So for a total of $1,200 in a Samsung Store credit.
Yeah, so $1,200, pretty good deal, I think. All right, what else we got here? I don't see any more questions. Let's see. Any technology questions or things we can answer for you guys about Bixby or point you in the right direction? Okay, so there's a question about new to develop Bixby. How complex of a UI can I make for a capsule? I say you make as complex a UI as you want. Given the you'll see there's a framework called Bixby Views, and it's what you use to build a UI. It's markup based, but much more component based than say raw HTML. I'll say that there's a bunch of components and you're configuring those components and modeling how those components work. So you can build some pretty rich Bixby UIs. If you take a look in the Bixby marketplace, you can enable things with those UIs now. But yeah, definitely look at those tutorials. I think Jonathan has a couple great videos he's written on UI. He knows how to write UIs way better than I do. So give him those questions. But yeah, I mean, a great UI looks good. Don't forget though, we're fundamentally a conversational assistant. So you need to be able to interact. Yes, you can have a UI that looks beautiful. Yes, you can have a UI that has, you touch things on the screen to do things, but you always need to be enabled to, for instance, those touches also need to have the voice alternative so somebody can talk to it and just look at the screen. Are there any categories Bixby is looking for more capsules to win? That's an awesome idea. Yeah, so go look at the store. Boy, I'm gonna forget. I think there's not a lot in sports and a couple other So look at the categories that have very little in them, and that's a great place to build something for, because frankly, it increases your chance of winning that $1,000 for that category, store category or store section, as we call it on the technology side. So definitely take a look. You know, what's got most? Not surprisingly, games and fun. That's true across all voice platforms. It's true across the iOS App Store, Android apps, games and fun, everyone. Cool place. Everybody likes to build a game. Not going to say don't build a game, but the competition is getting much fiercer there. Think of some other places where voice would be cool. Any tips for capsules getting approved? Yeah, so what I'm going to say is just follow Jonathan. Look at Jonathan's videos, and in there he's got a link to a checklist, and follow that checklist, and just make sure. A lot of capsules don't get approved for something silly, like they didn't include an icon, or they have a URL that doesn't work, or they didn't select the store section there. So just go through and pay some time and attention there. I do believe it's a nature of developers to often spend all their time building and coding, and they're like, okay, I'm just going to race through this process to submit. I'll tell you, one, if you race, you may miss something, but two, that's how you mark that metadata you set up for submission is how people are going to find your capsule and see your capsule in the marketplace. And it's your place to market your capsule, so spend time there. Any file size limitations? Well, we do let you embed images and put them in the capsule there. So I'll tell you some, just images themselves, definitely, I mean, it's just like, it could be in a mobile device and mobile network. So properly optimizing JPEG or PNG is a good idea. If you're talking about the capsule itself, yeah, no, I think about 100 megs, the IDE basically doesn't work anymore. So, but that would be an awful lot of images in there. That would be a pretty complicated capsule that had that many. Or if you were hosting that many images, you'd probably say, hey, don't necessarily host them in the capsule, host them outside. So there's a question about HTML. Is not really a result view. What are some strategies for handling that? I mean, we support result views and that markup. So I don't have a fabulous answer for you, except you can do one of two things. One, you can use the views, Bixby views, to create your layout. And they can be really simple if you're just taking something that's simple. We do allow what's called punch outs. So that's punching out to like having a link to punch out to a web page. But that cannot be the primary. So your answer cannot be, here's my UI, here's a punch out button. That'll get rejected. The answer, what those punch outs are primarily for is lengthy web articles. Maybe you want to punch out to Google Maps or something where the amount of information there is kind of overwhelming in a conversational app. Is it possible to share in the roadmap their plans to add event handler for audio player? That's a pretty specific question. I'm going to ask you to make a feature request for that so we can better understand it. Oh, and that's Armel. Are you going to ask it? I think that's a good question to ask on Slack, and let's see what we can dive deeper into exactly what you want to do. But yeah, love your capsule, by the way. So Armel is the head of Trouble.fm. They just released a capsule. It's an awesome capsule. All right. Okay, Jonathan just gave some things on a playlist. Is it worth going to SDC next week? Yeah, so I'll tell you what we're going to do at SDC around Bixby, or I'll tell you as much as I can. So there are 7 talks about Bixby. From the intro, here's Bixby, Bixby 101, and I'm giving, to some much more detailed ones about training and about UI and about there's some pretty cool features that are coming up with Bixby that I can't talk about. So, but we're definitely going to introduce. And then we're going to introduce it and show it on some different Bixby devices. There's a hint. So if you're in San Francisco and can make it, I think it'll be a great time. You'll learn a lot. And the other cool thing is a lot of the engineers that actually built the underlying Bixby platform will be there, and they don't get to talk to customers that often, and they really like this event because they really like to hear from people who are actually using their platform. So I think it's a pretty cool opportunity there, but I'll leave it at that. Anything you can share on deep linking to a Bixby capsule? Oh, you have the detail. These are good questions in there. Can you ask that on that Slack? I know this isn't asked before, and you want to basically from Android to deep link directly into the Bixby marketplace. I know it's been discussed, and I don't have an answer whether that's possible or not. But you ask it on Slack, be happy to answer that. Love that question. And then Jonathan, awesome. There's a code for 50% off there. All right, a question, ambient. Not sure what that means, but I mean, I would say we're definitely believers in ambient computing. And I think voice is a huge enabler of ambient computing. And the whole idea that I can just walk around my house or where I work and talk to my technology, to my mind, is a, kind of a prima facie, the kind of best example of ambient computing. So
I'd like to add that like ambient noise capsules are very popular. They're just popular in a lot of voice platforms.
Oh, if you're talking about that, yeah. Same thing in big picture, not a capsule. But yeah, ambient noise capsules are popular on there, just like they are in Alexa and Google Play, Google Actions. What do you mean about raffles? Yeah. Okay. So let me answer. So I believe on our first webinar in November. So not next week, but I think it's tentatively scheduled Tuesday or Wednesday of November. Sorry guys, I don't have the calendar right ahead of us. Pay attention to Slack. We're going to run our first raffle. So what we're going to do is all the capsules that have been approved and are live in the marketplace will be eligible from October 18th, the day that we started the contest, to, let's say, I don't know what our cutoff date will be for November, but tell whatever the date is in November. I'll get you some details on Slack. Then they'll all be eligible for a $500 raffle. So we'll raffle off and say one of you is going to win $500 just for submitting early, and then we're going to get a weekly cadence of that. So the following week, it'll be all those capsules submitted during that week are eligible for that next $500 raffle. And really, quite honestly, what we're trying to do is get you guys to submit your capsules early and get them out there because I have, it helps. It helps and get them early so you can get looking. I'm going to just tell you guys should all submit multiple capsules. You're eligible up to 4. So go to town and be creative. spend your time and win those eligibility awards for the store, and then win the raffle or and spend some time and win the grand prize or the runner-up prizes. Is it possible for Bixby to initiate a conversation? So if you're saying, is it possible for Bixby to just sit there and wake up, my Bixby to wake up at 2 p.m. or on an event-based, event happened and you want Bixby to wake up and do something? The answer is no. I know that's a requested feature. I know there is a feature request in there. If you go to Bixby developers and look at feature request, you can upvote that. You know, I'm curious what a lot of people have asked for that. And what we haven't gotten, except in a few cases, is really some compelling use cases for what they want to do. So if you want to share on Slack or even in that feature request, because you can comment on that, what you'd like to do there, I'd love to hear that, because I think there are some cool things there. But definitely it drives our team to build features when there's like, wow, we're holding back people from building these really amazing experiences because of this feature is missing. Not just we need a feature, because sometimes we go, well, what's that feature for? So please share.
To answer Frank Engelman's earlier question, for example, can I ask Bixby to say the weather basically from another capsule? Right now, we don't have cross-capsule compatibility, so there's no way for two separate capsules to talk to each other. So I'd say the answer to that question is no right now. And as for the deep linking from a web URL, I think that's a great feature request. Basically, some way like if you put it on a link on your website, it would link to the Bixby store or something. That would be great. It would be a great feature request to make at a Bixby developers in a ticket. So
yeah, I think
I recommend that.
I think there already is a ticket for that, of my memory.
Oh, okay.
Thursday and things like that. But yeah, no, I think that's definitely, you know, deep linking from web URL, and the other thing that people ask for is a web-based marketplace. Definitely, I'd say go find those and upvote those, and those are subject to some internal discussions. I have a workaround to wake up a Bixby capsule. Awesome. Well, then please share it with everyone on Slack. Are the prizes 10K in store credit too? Really awesome question. No, they're cash. Yeah, so the 10K grand prize, I know, I got to check. It takes a while, but you got to check for 10 grand. Of course, you got to pay those darn pesky taxes on it. But no, so the 10 grand prize, the 5 grand runner-ups, the 5 third place prizes, and the 21K prizes are all cash prizes. What is the store credit prizes? Are those $300 store credit for the first 250 capsules submitted and approved. All right. Anything else, guys? Let's see. Did I miss anything? As I'm talking, it's hard to keep track of the the chat. Here we go. Oh, okay. Do I have to Bixby? Yes. So really good question. Do I have to register on BixbyDevJam.com? Yes, you do. So we need some information there. So it's a really quick registration, just a few. So Bixby DevJam is our site for the DevJam. You definitely need to go there and register. Just a few bits of information there. Please, please, please. Matter of fact, whatever email you register there, use on your submissions, because that's how we're going to match them up. So sometimes people register in a contest site with, z@gmail.com, and then they submit something at x@gmail.com, and we have no way of matching them up. So please use your email across both of those, the same email. What date did eligible capsules start from? October 18th. Can Bixby on 2 different tones talk to each other? I've seen some goofy things people have done. I haven't seen it with Bixby. with the other voice assistants and having two of them maintain a conversation. I mean, yeah, you could build a capsule that does that. You know, it'd be fun and interesting and exciting. I don't know. It'd be interesting. What I've only seen is people goofing around with like a voice assistant talking to their voice assistant, or two talking to each other. What would be, I would be super interested if someone found like a practical use case for doing that. That'd be pretty cool. But you know, or if you just want to goof around and put it, and you search on YouTube, voice assistants talking to each other. You can definitely do that, and you can create that for Bixby for fun. When will the ninners be announced after the closing date? Give us. I'm gonna say I don't think we finalized that. And to some degree, it's going to vary depending on how the glut of late submissions. But we're going to try to do it within a week, at most 10 days after the closing date on December 13th. So way ahead, we're well ahead of the holidays for sure. Got any tips to win one of the big prizes? You know, I told you guys before, make it something where you're like, wow, this makes so much sense to be voice driven or conversationally driven, and using voice is the best way to interact with this. And you know, with Bixby, there's a strong multimodal element, so that can be part of it. But make it not only a voice first experience, an experience where voice is the best way to do it. You know, the capsule was really simple. I'll tell you, the one that I won with last year was, a lot of it was capturing the data, but the capsule code isn't very complicated. What people really liked about it was really practical. I'm sitting in front of these like bins, and I'm like, can I recycle this? Did I throw this in the trash? Can I compost this? And I was motivated by my kids, because my kids always ask me things like that. So that's an example of where you're ready to do something. Voice is the best. I'm not going to go drop what I'm holding and run over a web browser or launch an app. Super simple. You know, I think you can think about, it doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be super useful for voice or super compelling. You know, I'm going to just say that I think there are some really clever and creative things people have done game-wise with voice, but you got to really think of voice and gaming. I think there's practical things. Think about, I'll give you this hint. What is something where you go and you got to do it? You got to take your phone out of your pocket. You got to unlock it. You got to go swipe or find the app. You got to go click 4 times in the app, and you got to go do it. And then you're done. Wow, that's a lot of friction. Or I have to go run to my laptop, launch my browser, go find something and launch an app and do. That's a bunch of friction. Where can you build something where voice, your capsule there's a lot less friction involved. There is inherently less friction, you know, because you're using voice as an input modality. On the other hand, voice has got to work acceptably as an input modality. So that has both its opportunities and challenges. Is there a purchasing system in Bixby? I'll try to answer this in a short way. If you want to sell physical goods on Bixby, then yes, there is. So if you look at the Yelp capsule, and there is a Ticketmaster capsule, and they're actually selling things on Bixby, and they're using Samsung Pay, which is built in most Samsung phones, and you can integrate that with Bixby. And so in that case, you're selling a good or a concert ticket. If you're talking about the equivalent, oops, sorry, I just woke Bixby up again on my device. If you're talking about kind of in capsule purchasing, what we call premium capsules, so the equivalent of in-skill purchasing on Alexa, not yet, but we're well aware of that desire, and I'll stay tuned. But you should don't build for the contest. You need to build something that doesn't need that. Okay. here's my use case for working on Bixby capsule. Oh, okay. So he's using Bixby routines triggered by a timer to wake things up. That's Frank. So Frank actually is another on there, and he's another winner. So he won a contest we had around Bixby capsule done at these hackathons that we ran in person this year. And he did what I think is a super cool voice application. Sorry, Frank, I'm going to advertise for you. But it was it's called Senior Workout. And it's this capsule where literally you ask, hey, give me a workout. And it shows you a simple workout and exercise. And I think that's a really good voice application. Why? I'm exercising. I don't want to be taking my ready, sweaty hands and grabbing a keyboard, even touching a phone. I want my next exercise, ask it via voice. It tells you about it, shows you a little animated GIF that shows you how to do it. A classic example of where they actually based that upon the fact template and then really built some amazing content there. So really good example where the content was king. Will I get bonus judging points if I use a newly available feature like video player? So part of our judging is kind of on the technology side. So we're going to like that, but I'm not going to say you're going to get bonus just for using it. I'm going to say you get bonus for using any technology feature in a really cool, innovative way. So what I would say about the new features is it's a way to stand out. So if you use the new video player feature, you're probably going to be fewer although now they say this will be a bunch, but that's okay. There are probably going to be fewer capsules that use it in a way to differentiate yourself. And in any contest that you do with anything, you want to differentiate yourself. And so I'd say those are good ways to differentiate yourself. On the other hand, if you just throw some videos together and they have no purpose or rhyme or reason and things like that, they actually can harm you. So use the tech to build functionality that's entertaining or exciting and compelling. Hey, Jonathan, while I'm waiting, there's no other questions. If you want to expound or have deeper thoughts on any of my answers, please do. What do you think makes a great capsule?
Sure. I mean, for me, a great capsule, at least when I build them, is just something that I enjoy using. It's not necessarily the best barometer for whether it is or isn't a good capsule, but if you enjoy using your own capsule, then you're probably on the right track. So.
Yeah. You got to be your own best customer, right?
Yeah.
You work a lot harder when you like doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus you're building, you have this idea, but you're not excited about it. But yeah. All right, I'll give you guys a few more minutes for any questions. Let me go find that URL. I'm just gonna the Slack URL. That is in my presentation. Because I think that's where we want to, let me just share it again if you didn't see it. So it's bixbydevs.slack.com. If you're already registered, you can go there and you'll see the channel, Bixby DevJam 2019. If you're not, there's that bit.ly link. Oops, I sent it. I didn't send it to everyone. Let me send chat to. Okay, Jonathan sent there. Thanks. All right. Why isn't this letting me send everyone? Okay. Oh, Jonathan, can you? Sorry, oh yeah. Okay, perfect. I think I sent. All right, my Zoom fumble fingers there. BixbyDevs.slack.com. if you haven't signed up, there's that bit.ly link to go sign up, and you can go sign up, and then you can get right in there. And like I said, that is hosted actually by the community. But they graciously allowed us to use it for this. And I thought that's a great way to, instead of creating a completely separate Slack channel, Slack presence for just this contest, it's like, let's bring it into a community to live far above and beyond the life cycle of this contest.
And Roger and I are in that Slack, so feel free to message us with any questions. You know, you can find us there.
Yeah, definitely. It is our job, Jonathan and my job is to go get third-party developers excited and building for Bixby. So remember that. So definitely leverage us. And our job is to get you excited and help you. And I'd love to see a bunch of submissions. You know what I'd love to see? Make it super hard for us to judge the contest. That would be awesome, right? If it's like, wow, there are so many amazing capsules here, that would be super cool. All right. So it looks like the questions have kind of dried up. I don't have any parting words except go build something cool. Let's continue the conversation on the Slack. If I didn't answer something, I know there was a couple that were a little bit, there's a couple about audio player, for instance, and some requests there. Let's continue that on Slack, or anything else you guys think of that weren't able to answer. Yeah, I will. That's a great comment. See you at SDC for any of you attending. Love to see you there. I'll be giving a talk, Bixby 101. Jonathan will be there, roaming the floor, answering questions. But otherwise, let's talk on Slack. And then we're going to be doing another one of these, I believe, next Friday, a week from from tomorrow. We can talk more then, and talk to you soon. Thank you. Jonathan, any parting words?
No, that's it, everyone. Just go out there and kill it. Look forward to seeing your capsules.
All right, awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Go build something amazing. All right, take it easy. Thanks. Bye.